championship fight is a numbers game. 8. That's all the points that championship leader Jimmy Vasser has earned in the past 4 races. 41. The points Al Unser Jr. has scored in the last 4. He's consistent, but yet to win this year. 55. The points earned by Gilles de Ferran in the last 4 events to move him to 3rd in the championship. And 4. The number of wins Michael Andretti has in Toronto in the last 5 years. Michael and the rest are fighting for that elusive number 1. At Exhibition Place in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, we join the IndyCars for the PPG IndyCar World Series at the Molson Indy. And we join them right in the middle of a very hot fight for the championship. In fact, today could be the pivotal day for the rest of the season.
Well, I think this is going to be awful important. Jimmy Vasser's back in 11th. He needs to score some points. Al Jr. doesn't need anything better than a 9th place to take the lead if Vasser doesn't finish. And Gilles de Ferran could finish 4th and jump into the lead. This is an unbelievable battle. They've all got to be careful to get through those first couple of laps and score points today.
And Jimmy Vasser cannot go scoreless today. It's critical to him. Now this track here at Toronto's Exhibition Place. They've made some changes.
Well, they have. They took out what I thought was one of the most important corners. Michael Andretti said this was a critical corner for him, gave him a lot of speed. It was very fast. It was one of those ones drivers love, but they made a long straightaway down into that first corner. It's going to give them one more place to pass.
And you see the passing and the trouble zones on this area. They tend to, on this track, they tend to overlap. And I'll tell you another thing about it. There have been some rather spectacular incidents on this circuit. Now, the engines have already been started. They're rolling on the circuit, so let's take a look at the starting grid. On the pole, it's Andre Ribeiro. This is his 2nd career pole, his 1st on a road course. Alongside Alex Zanardi. He's had a win and a 2nd in the last 2 races. In the 2nd row, Adrian Fernandez, the 1992 Indy Lights winner here at Toronto. And Scott Pruitt, who qualified in the top 5 in 8 of 11 races. Row 3 is Greg Moore, the fastest Mercedes-powered qualified. And Parker Johnstone, his career best 2nd place finish came from 6th starting spot at Long Beach. In row 4, it's Al Unser Jr., the winner here in both 88 and 90. And Bobby Rahal, who won the 1st race at Toronto 10 years ago. The 5th row, Gilles de Ferran, scored his 2nd career win 2 weeks ago at Cleveland. And Michael Andretti, a 5-time winner here, including his last 4 starts. In row 6, Jimmy Vasser. He's only scored 8 points in the last 4 races. And Brian Herta, his first top 5 finish this year came 2 weeks ago in Cleveland. Row 7, the 93 winner, Paul Tracy and Christian Fittipaldi. In the 8th row, the 87 winner, Emerson Fittipaldi and Mark Blundell. Row 9, Mauricio Gugelmin and Robby Gordon. The 10th row, Raul Boisel and Jeff Krosnoff. In row 11, Stefan Johansson and Roberto Moreno. The 12th row, Scott Goodyear, his 1st race since his accident in Brazil, and Eddie Lawson. In row 13, P.J. Jones and Richie Hearn. And the 14th row, Juan Manuel Fangio and Hiro Matsushita. And all 28 were able to start rolling on the circuit. You look over the top of Michael Andretti as we take a look at the race to the championship. And this shows you, Danny Sullivan, the 4 wins for Jimmy Vasser certainly paid off early. The real key with Al Unser Jr. is consistency, no wins.
No wins, but as we said at the beginning of the season, here's a guy that's always there, scores points. He's had trouble in races, but he always seems to be in the points. In fact, if he hadn't had that little faux pas at Detroit, he'd be leading the championship right now.
And of course, Gilles de Ferran with 92 points made a big jump with the win 2 weeks ago at Cleveland, but he is very definitely the man on the move. Now let's go to the pit side and Gary Gerald.
Well, one of the reasons everybody loves to come to Toronto to race, the crews have a unique advantage that they don't have at so many other tracks. Here on pit road, they look right across, and there's one of those giant big screens. There's one at each end of the pits. So all day, when their car's not here on pit road, everybody is glued to this screen trying to see how their driver's doing. Jack?
Gary, remember at Cleveland there were 2 different philosophies about the race within Target Team Ganassi, and Jimmy Vasser was looking for points. Tom Anderson here calls the shots. I asked him just moments ago, have you changed or given any advice to Jimmy today about points? He said, one thing I'll guarantee you, we're not going to use the same philosophy we did at Cleveland. Remember there, they tried to play it a little bit too close to the vest. Look for Vasser to be a little bit conservative, but still really try to go to the front. Paul?
Well, let's take a look at some of the onboard cameras that we have available. First, of course, you've seen this. Michael Andretti looking down in his cockpit on the nose of Bobby Rahal's car. We've got plenty of onboard cameras here for you today. There's Jimmy Vasser, the current points leader, the key figure in today's fight, over his shoulder. Robby Gordon right up in front of the rear wing. Interesting aspect that's given us some fascinating video. And Scott Pruitt, a man that some think may actually score a victory here today, driving, of course, on the Firestone tires. And we also have a view on Roberto Moreno's car, the data control machine. He sits back in the field, but those cameras sometimes provide some interesting analysis of the first couple of laps. There's that final turn as they begin now to head down toward the green flag on the pole. Ribeiro, Zanardi alongside, nicely aligned, very close up. Right-hander stands just ahead, and there they go. Green flag comes out. Ribeiro leads them into turn one. A lot of brake smoke coming into the corner. Do they all get through clean? No, they don't. There's debris bouncing a couple of places. It looked like it might have come off of one of the Penske cars. We'll keep an eye on that as we look back through the field. And yep, there you see one.
Yeah, it looked like Al Unser Jr. Boy, that's going to dash his hopes a little bit, but it looked like Al Jr. had his front wing knocked askew.
Boy, and take a look at the battle of the front of the field as already Zanardi makes his move on Ribeiro and gets past, picks up the lead at turn 3. Fernandez drops into third place. Then Greg Moore, Johnstone gets in trouble. Johnstone goes sideways on the circuit. Of course, being a road course, they'll keep it green flag if they can. Yellow only in that area.
And that's Bobby Rahal's car. He looked like he just passed. I thought it was Scott Pruitt. He looked like he was slowing. Look at that gap behind Greg Moore that we see on the screen right there.
Well, we saw the spin by the first car, which looked to be Parker Johnstone, and it may have collected even more. We'll try and get information on that. Zanardi, then Ribeiro, and there's Al Unser Jr. heading into the pits, Gary.
This is something that the Penske team has rehearsed countless times. They have a very quick release on the nose. They may be able to change the nose faster than virtually any other team out here, but they're having problems. I don't know if it's damage related, but it'll be a fresh nose as the precious seconds tick by for Al Unser Jr. And that championship hope is suffering right now. Jack?
Gary.
Problems as well for two key point contenders. You're looking at Scott Pruitt. He had a tire go down. If we can turn the camera to the other side, you can also see Jill DeBaron. He's being serviced. He came in without a nose as well, Paul Page.
Yeah, he came in totally without a nose, so something happened back there. Fortunately, the nose is a pretty quick change on these machines.
Well, it is, as long as when that nose got knocked off that it didn't screw up some of those screw holes and they can't get it back in. But what this really does is Jimmy Vasser's championship hopes really just came alive here with two of his big contenders getting knocked out.
Yep, took a big jump forward. Not necessarily out, but certainly slowed down. Michael Andretti, there's where Parker Johnstone got in trouble. And then the rest of the field bottled behind him. Looked like Michael just lost grip.
Well, or lost grip or got in there a little too late, and Parker braked a little early. Oh, there's Jeff Krosnoff trying to pass on Raul Boesel. You see how tight it is there, but what that also did is it took the first 4 cars, it gave them a gap on the field.
And the first 5 are Zanardi, Ribeiro, Fernandez, Greg Moore, and Bobby Rahal. You're absolutely right. Rahal came forward as a result of those confrontations, but he has been able to close up to that gap and sits, well, there's the gap, and then Rahal, probably 150 yards back.
But interesting, see right there in front, that's Al Unser Jr. He's in danger of losing maybe another lap here. That's the leader in the red car right behind him, right there.
We're showing.
There are your front 4s. They all run right together, coming up behind Little Al, heading for turn 3, key passing area.
Boy, you know, he doesn't like to give up that lap. That could be critical.
Parker Johnstone either sideways again or still sideways. Full course yellow as they split to come around him. Yellow flags flying everywhere. The course marshals want to get him slowed down before this situation, as he's right in the center of the racetrack.
And boy, did that really hurt Al Unser Jr., because if he had not gotten past right then, he would have had a chance to go back tag onto the back of the field and wouldn't have lost that lap to the leader.
With concrete walls on both sides, there's a very precarious position for the Motorola car of Parker Johnstone as they pull it back to get it away from the edge of the racetrack. Zanardi leads. 3 laps are complete. We're full course yellow. Under yellow while they get Parker Johnstone cleared and back underway on the course. Jill DeFerrin, of course, seemed to suffer the most from whatever confrontation there was. Let's go to Jack Arute.
And Paul, this is the way Jill DeFerrin came onto pit road, minus the front nose section. It's molded so it actually latches on and you put these little bolts in. Because it was hit in the carbon fiber, though, it couldn't get, the new nose couldn't get seated on properly. Of the 9 bolts, they got 7 of them in tight. There's 2 of them missing. You may wonder, how did Jill DeFerrin lose his nose? Not with the altercation with Al Unser Jr., but with a spinning Parker Johnstone.
All right, so in the first laps here, the first 3 actually, we've had Zanardi jump from the outside of the front row around the pole sitter Ribeiro, take the lead. Ribeiro dropped back into 2nd place, and then a little confrontation involving Parker Johnstone when he lost it in front of Michael Andretti, and as the rest of the field came through, a couple of guys bounced off of one another. We also saw Paul Tracy have his problems.
Yeah, and he moved up from 13th where he started to 6th.
So Paul Tracy, who has been hot here most of the weekend, hometown crowd, of course, looked terrific today. He got bottled up on the start, but boy, he made a good move on it.
Whoa, that was close. Did you see how close he was under Zanardi's? And I think he lost a little ground. See how he dropped away? He obviously had to pull in real hard on the brakes.
On board Bobby Rahall's Miller car sitting back, 5th place, just behind Greg Moore. The field, of course, able to bunch up on that yellow, and they're all on top of one another again.
What you got to be careful of now is if he starts projecting that position, they'll lose touch with Zanardi, give him a clear field. Look how they're bunched up back there.
Interesting situation there, though, at 2nd place. Those are teammates. Ribeiro and then Fernandez, both out of Steve Horn's Tasman team. Nearly identical cars. Key difference being that Ribeiro has won twice, and Fernandez has yet to win. So do they let each other alone?
I don't think so. I never had those team orders in any of the teams I drove with 2 cars, especially with a guy that's never won and one that wants to post another victory this year.
Looking back to Bobby Rahal as Paul Tracy continues to work on him. Let's go to Gary.
Paul, we mentioned the crews watch the big screens. Doug Peterson, one of the owners for Parker Johnstone, what were your thoughts when you saw your driver setting sideways?
I just hope that nobody's going to hit him. He was broadside in the middle of the track. It was a pretty frightening moment. But apparently the car's okay. He's radioed in and said the car's okay. He just got bumped at the start and spun. Simple as that.
Thanks, Doug.
Sure, thank you.
All right, so there's the situation with Parker Johnstone. Michael Andretti, you're on board with him now. He sits in 7th place. That's Paul Tracy just ahead. We've got a couple of radio connections. One of them is this car, Michael Andretti, so we'll open that and listen. Well, there's the interval now. So you've got an idea of how far ahead Zanardi's able to pull. There he is as he's getting ready to head into turn 3. Through 3. Target car comes off the corner, and it seems like Ribeiro's catching just a bit.
A little bit, but he lost so much in that restart just on that one corner, and it's very difficult. He's not only got to try to drive ahead and look at the car, but he's also got to be watching his mirrors and looking after that teammate.
Ribeiro was almost 2 seconds behind the leader, 1.9 as they came across the line, so we'll keep track of that. Next point of measurement will be back at the start-finish line again. And here's where we'll get our update. So it stays the same. Ribeiro not able to make up on that lap. A lot of hope rides with Greg Moore. Of course, another Canadian yet to win his first race. Was very powerful in Indy Lights here last year as he took the championship in that series. And he definitely feels like this could be his day. Certainly the team does.
Well, I talked to him earlier today, and he really feels like it's strong. I talked with the team last night. They certainly feel that they've got as good a chance. He had a little bit of a mishap in qualifying yesterday when he jumped up to third. He dropped to fifth because he missed about the last 10 minutes, but he's very confident. What's happened right now, Paul, is everybody gotten through the first couple of laps, sorted themselves out, and now they're settling down into the race.
Fangio spins it. Now he's going counter course, trying to find a place where he can turn around. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So Fangio just lost the back end, coming off at 3, but there is a rise there.
It is a rise, but he just got sideways. Did a very good job right there of just backing up in the middle of the road, not trying to correct it. And then what you tried to see was he was spinning the car around because it's very narrow down there, lighting up the back wheels and spinning.
And in fact, right behind him was his teammate, P.J. Jones, Gary.
Yeah, and we have a radio report, and we're not sure from which one of those cars it came that he had no brakes. So definitely one of those guys in deep trouble. I don't know if it happened to be Juan or if it was PJ.
Well, I don't think it was Juan because his spin came after the corner. I mean, he was well through the braking. He was on the part where he's standing on the gas coming off the corner. I think he got it sideways and just lit it up and spun.
Well, here comes Fangio in, though, so maybe, in fact, it was him. And he found out he didn't have brakes after he came through the corner.
Or possibly he just got in so deep that he was just scrambling trying to save the car.
11 laps of the scheduled 95-lap distance here. An 11-turn, 1.78 miles around on this road course at Exhibition Place. Gary, Gerald, can you update us on Fangio?
Yeah, no forward drive gear. Something in the drivetrain is broken. That's why he's coasted to a stop here at the pit entrance.
And that explains it, doesn't it, Danny?
That does. I think that's probably what might have happened when he was spinning the car around as well.
So watching the target car of Alex Zanardi. One race this year. He comes home as the winner, and that, of course, was at Portland. Great celebration after that. Let's go to Robby Gordon, who sits back in 10th position right now. We're just going to ride and listen.
Actually, those little winglets out the side of the roll bars that look like ears sitting out there are actually the camera that they're mounted in there. The little cameras are mounted inside that. That's what we were just viewing from the shot before.
On the right side is the camera. On the left side is the transmitter. Gordon started 18th up to 10th. So at 12 laps complete, Alex Zanardi, who jumped into the lead on the start around Andre Ribeiro, continues the lead. No change at the top of the order. At the Molson Indy, we are in Toronto at Exhibition Place and riding with Michael Andretti. That's Paul Tracy just ahead. Michael currently occupies 7th position.
Well, and you saw that white puff of smoke. We've been following this for a couple laps, and he does it a couple places, but there particularly every time there's a crown in the road, gets in there, gets that right front wheel a little light, but that'll eventually create a handling problem because that tire will get awful square on him.
You know, I want to keep an eye on Paul Tracy too. A couple of times under shifting, I've seen a puff at the back of the car. And I wonder if I'm seeing things or if something's going on there. Look down from the Honda Helicam as they make in the turn off of Lakeshore Boulevard here and back in through the Exhibition Place. And I think Michael's making up some distance.
He is certainly right on him. I think you're going to have to get a little bit closer than that, or quite a bit closer to make an attempt to pass. Let's see if he locks up here again. This is the corner where we've had the problems. Watch there. Nope. That's the first time in about 4 laps that he hadn't locked up coming in there.
But you know what he did? He didn't make a sharp turn into the corner.
He rolled in.
Took more of an arc into the corner that time, I think, because Michael's there. Michael lets some noise there. Same thing he did last time. Puff there, though.
Yep. This is a really tough course when it comes to passing. You've got to be real sure, and you've got to have a clean shot when you go in there. Because if anything goes wrong, you bang with the other guy, you knock a wheel out of line or break a nose, your day's done.
Everything the same at the front of the field as Zanardi leads it. This battle for second place between teammates Ribeiro and Fernandez. Coverage, of course, here in Ontario comes from CBC Television. And they have really outfitted this place with plenty of cameras to give you the coverage.
It looks to me a little bit like Ribeiro is possibly holding Fernandez up.
We saw Fangio have his problems earlier. Gary, do we know clearly now more about them?
Yeah, well, the team is persisting in trying to track down the problem. It's a linkage problem. They have got all kinds of equipment at the back of the car, and they're going to work on it. He stays in the cockpit, hoping that he can get out and still get some more development time with that Toyota program for Dan Gurney. But right now, it's pretty bleak.
So that battle is broken off there at the front of the field again. They're all waiting station on one another. Let's go back to 17th place. This is Scott Bruin, who I think they'd hoped he'd be a little further up. We've also turned on his two-way radio. That's Raul Boisel just ahead of him. Saw him smoke the right front there too. Jackaroo.
Paul, let's update you on Scott Brewer. Remember, he was on pit road with a flat. He did not cut the tire. Playing air there, he's talking about the understeer that the car has developed. It means it wants to push out to the wall. He did not cut a tire, guys. What happened is when he was involved in that altercation, when everybody came together, they came up against some carbon fiber from another car and sheared the valve stem off, so the tire immediately deflated. That's a tough way to lose air.
The other voice you hear on the two-way radio is Jim McGee, team manager for Pat Patrick's team.
I think he was taking a look inside to see if he could dive under. You kind of accelerate and then go on the brakes there, but look how much ground he lost. And Raul Boisel is a tough guy to pass anyway, but he's not going to just give you the corner like that.
You see there where that one little look inside cost him a great deal for the next couple of corners. Looking back, the battle second, third, fourth. Ribeiro, Fernandez, Moore.
See, I think Ribeiro's holding him up a little bit. Zanardi's pulling away.
Look at Greg Moore.
But Greg Moore has come way down. He's caught him. Look how close Fernandez. This is the battle right here.
And boy, it's tight right now. Two nearly identical race cars, and then Greg Moore charging in just behind. Gary, Gerald?
Juan Fangio now out of the car. It turns out it may have been clutch. Tell us about the track conditions before you encountered your problem.
Well, it's fine. I mean, for me, it was better because in qualifying, I didn't have the chance to run at all on Friday, and on qualifying on Saturday, it was very slippery for myself. So today it was quite good, and the car feel all right. It was not great, but it feel all right.
Making progress with this team. Thank you, Juan.
Yes, getting better. So we have to keep working and trying to improve in every race.
Paul?
There's the leader. We'll see an interval now. Back to second place. There's Ribeiro. There's Fernandez. Greg Moore again looking for some clean air, too.
I'm not not sure I understand entirely. It's a little shorter that way, but he's got to dive back out there. I'd want to get behind Fernandez and get a little pull down there. He's got that Honda power. And, of course, Greg Moore in the Mercedes. I'd like to get that yank down the straightaway and suck me down there.
Well, is there maybe another issue? It's a hot day here. The sun is shining. In fact, we don't have a cloud cover overhead right now. Could he be facing an overheating problem, trying to get air through the coolers or anything like that?
I wouldn't have thought so. It's been hot the last 2 days. They've got that down pretty pat. I don't think so.
So 2 Hondas and then a Mercedes. Ribeiro, Fernandez, and then Greg Moore. As they go back now, Paul Tracy still trying to work on Bobby Rahal. There's the Miller car, Bobby Rahal, in 5th place.
Of course, what they're all hoping is that Ribeiro will hold them up, because they know they're all closing on that group in front of them, and they need a little bit of help to close that gap.
So the battle for second continues, and it is almost 4 seconds behind Alex Zanardi. 22 laps complete. Pit stop should be very soon. We'll be back after these messages. In 2 weeks, the IndyCar action continues in Michigan. Scott Pruitt won last year in a photo finish. Now he tries to defend his crown at the Michigan 500. That's Sunday, July 28th, right here on ABC Sports. Well, it's tightening up at the front. No changes in the field, and pit stops are coming up, Gary Gerald.
Paul, in fact, as we were in that break, we saw the first of the stops here. Stefan Johansson taking advantage of the fact that the window is open early coming in. They had a problem on the right rear, and it ended up being a 27.5-second stop. That was very disappointing for that team. Most of the teams, if their car is handling well, can go to about lap 35 or so, maybe as long as lap 38 before they make the first of 2 scheduled stops. But we're going to be seeing a flurry of activity now. The window's open. Jack?
Well, Gary, for Alex Zanardi, your current leader, the radio chatter back and forth knows full well that the window is open for pit stops. They want to go to approximately lap 35. Their main concern right now, they want Zanardi to back off a little bit, not get into too much heated race traffic racing. They feel like he can get back in a sequential order during the pit stop. So they're counseling right now about maybe backing off just a bit until the pit stop.
Well, we've been watching the front of the field as they all come around the 15 car, which is Scott Goodyear, his first race back since his accident in Rio. Now, why is the front end closed up the way they are? Well, they all ran into an impediment. The first to do that, of course, was Zanardi, and the impediment was Hiro Matsushita, who not only was in front of the leaders, but he got into a little bit of trouble, actually right in front of the leader of the race. He got the car sideways, and in doing so, once he got it sideways, he caught it, kept it off the wall, but Zanardi was right there behind him. There's that battle for second place. We can go back and take a look at that when Hiro bottled up the field. Look at that. Whoa.
Paul, I think one thing else that's happened here is I believe that Ribeiro's not on the pace that some of the other cars want to run, and he's really not going fast enough. Everybody's bunched up behind him, and we're also seeing everybody get in traffic. Those things combined, it's always easier for the leader to get through, but when you're trying to protect the position and dive through traffic, it's hard.
So there's the target car, Roberto Moreno, number 4. Or excuse me, Alex Zanardi. We were looking at Roberto Moreno, had him on the mind.
He just passed him.
Yeah. Roberto Moreno is actually running back in 19th place as we look over at the EDS computer, which keeps track of the cars here. A full 3-second lead over second place. Ribeiro. Here comes Ribeiro. He comes around Moreno. Fernandez has dropped back just a bit.
Again, Paul, I think that's more due to traffic than anything else. You can gain or lose that gap so fast just depending on where you pick a slower car and where you get past him. If you're held up for 2 corners, you're going to lose some ground. If you catch him on a straightaway.
This is on board 7th place Michael Andretti as he was pursuing Paul Tracy. This is on the pit straight heading for that first turn.
Got it out there a little wide. Little traction problem, but he wanted to protect that position. But look at Tracy.
You get wide.
Yeah, you get wide.
Tracy and forget it.
That's great racing, though, in there. And that's what the drivers wanted, was another spot around here to pass. And they look like they've got it with that increased length on that front